It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Canada National Basketball Olympian, Kim Gaucher. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to start playing professional basketball?
Yeah, I started playing really young. I think I was in grade one or grade two, and my older sister, who's 3 years older, Michelle, she would always play, and so I would tag along to all of her practices and all of her games, and I aspired to be just like her when I grew up, and so that's how I got my start in the game.
What was it like going to the University of Utah and playing basketball there?
I had so much fun. I got to play under a legendary coach, Elaine Elliott. It was four of the most fun years I had playing basketball. There's really nothing like it, being able to go to school, get a degree, and play the sport that you love. It's pretty cool.
How was that like getting to put on that red Utah jersey?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember my first game. I was so nervous, but it was so neat to play. And I mean, we played in a giant stadium, the Huntsman Center. And yeah, just to be able to throw on the jersey for the first time and run out into the stadium with the band. We didn't have a lot of fans. Hopefully that continues to change for Utah women's basketball. But yeah, the band made it an amazing atmosphere, and the fans that we had were really loyal and made a lot of noise. It was cool.
Of course, during your 4 years, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
My senior year, we lost in overtime of the Elite Eight, so we almost made the Final Four, but it was the furthest that the program had been in their history. So that was an amazing run to end your career on. We won a championship, a conference championship every year. I was there, and yeah, I think I was Player of the Year for my conference all 4 years. But it was definitely that final run in the NCAA tournament that was the most memorable for sure.
Of course, after your 4 years at Utah, what was it like getting drafted to the WNBA and playing in the WNBA?
Man, I was so nervous on draft night. It was like I couldn't even eat or drink all day leading up to it. I had no idea where I was getting drafted, and I'm somebody that likes to prepare and plan. And so just having to wait, having zero idea. It was kind of like I was invited to the draft, so you knew you were going to be drafted most likely, but having zero control over that, I probably didn't enjoy the experience as much as I could have. But it was a lot of fun hearing your name called. And it was just kind of a sense of uh, relief, honestly, that you could get started and get going with your professional career.
What was that feeling like when you got that call from Sacramento that you got drafted?
Yeah, just pure relief. It was kind of like you heard your name called, and then everything was kind of overwhelming. You know, you hugged your. I had what would be my future father-in-law, mother-in-law, my future husband there at the table with me, along with my coaches. And so it was really neat to be surrounded by them. My parents, unfortunately, couldn't make it because they followed the whole run in the NCAA tournament, and it was the last weekend. And so they stayed at home and they were watching and cheering from home. But yeah, it was pretty neat to hear your name called in that kind of atmosphere, to be surrounded by loved ones and be able to go up and hold the jersey up on stage.
What was it like getting to play in the WNBA and putting on that first WNBA jersey?
It's an incredible league. I was surrounded by so many strong, insanely powerful women. I mean, I look at, some of my teammates. It was really intimidating those first few weeks. Being teamed up with a Kara Lawson, Yolanda Griffith, Tisha Penachero. They'd just won the championship the year before, and so it was kind of like I knew I was coming into a really strong environment. And so for me, it was a lot of learning and a lot of soaking up, and I would say that I took a lot away from my 3 summers in the WNBA, and I was able to use the lessons that I learned from my experiences there, and it helped me become a way better leader and a way better player.
How did it feel to become the first Canadian to make an appearance in the WNBA?
I actually didn't know that before you told me that, but I know that Tammy Sutton Brown has now won a WNBA championship, and we've got a lot of young and up and coming Canadian talent that is going to do huge things in that league, that are doing huge things in that league right now. And so it's been really, really fun to watch their careers and see the growth.
What was that feeling like making the Canada national team?
There is nothing better. My first summer with the national team, I was a baby. I was going into my senior year of high school, and I was kind of invited into the senior camp, sort of as like a project, as a future down the line, like, hey, come see what this is all about. And they ended up picking me. So I remember sitting in the meeting where you were going to find out if you were on the team or not expecting at all to be on the team. And the coaches were like, all right, you're going to Brazil. And it was kind of like, what? Yeah, it was, there's really absolutely nothing like playing for your country, being able to represent and put that jersey on. And I mean, I first watched the Canadian national team practice when I was in grade 9. My high school coach, we skipped school for the day. We went out and we watched the national team practice. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this was before YouTube, this was before, you could just turn on your phone and see professional women playing basketball. And as a Canadian, there was never women on TV playing basketball. And so for the first time in my life, I saw what I could be, and it was so impactful and so powerful. And so, 3 years later, to be suiting up alongside these women was mind blowing to me. It was a lot of hard work and dedication, but man, there was nothing like it.
Of course, what would you tell your 9-year-old self that was there looking at those players, knowing that one day you were going to become one of those players?
Enjoy the ride. Yeah, I mean, just try to stay in the moment, stay present, because it's pretty incredible. You're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of hard work. But yeah, definitely try to stay in the moment. Sometimes I get carried away, always looking, when you're a high level athlete, you're always looking at what's the next thing that you can accomplish, but definitely try to stay in the moment and appreciate some of the thrills as they're happening to you live.
How did it feel the first time you got to put on that Canada basketball jersey and have the Maple Leaf flag on you?
Yeah, unreal. Hearing your anthem before a game is one of the greatest things, being able to sing it with your teammates. We always shouted it pretty off key at the top of our lungs, and it's some of the greatest memories I have.
Of course, what was it like preparing for the Olympics?
Hard. Man, so when I started, we didn't qualify for Athens in 2004. We didn't qualify for Beijing in 2008. And in 2012, we finally qualified. And it was a long grind to get there. We had some insanely long training camps where we lived in dorm rooms. We lived in college dorm rooms as grown women, and spent all summer together, and just kind of really dug in and committed to getting this team, this country, back to the Olympic stage. And so when we finally achieved that, it was unreal. It was for sure the highlight.
What was it like, obviously, getting to go to the 2012 Olympics?
Yeah, so as that being the first Olympics that Canada had qualified for in 12 years, it was pretty monumental. And we actually qualified in 2012. We were the very last team to qualify for the Olympics. It was at a tournament in Turkey. We beat Japan on Canada Day. So it was a giant celebration. And then it was like everything else was just kind of gravy. Like, we went into the Olympics and it was sort of like, oh my goodness, finally we're here. It was with like a group of women that had really committed. We had sacrificed a whole bunch. We had zero free time in the summers. Our whole summers were with Canada. And so, yeah, to be able to do that with them was was unreal.
Of course, after that 2012 Olympics, what was it like obviously getting prepared for this 2020 Olympics?
I mean, things had changed. Obviously, for me personally, well, when we first qualified for Tokyo, our team was playing outstanding. And then obviously the world kind of went on hold with COVID. The Olympics were postponed. And so for me, I had a daughter who was born just a couple of months before the Olympics. And so my lead up to Tokyo was definitely a lot different than any of the other ones. It was a pretty stressful, overwhelming, crazy time because I didn't know if I was going to get back in shape. One, that was a grind. And then two, I didn't know if I was, with no fans, I didn't know if I was going to be able to have my daughter there who I was still breastfeeding. And so there was a lot of moving pieces. It was a pretty wild time. Thankful that I had a lot of support from my Canada basketball family and my family who kind of helped me put it all together at the last second. And then Tokyo was kind of a different sort of weird Olympics, with no spectators. Normally the Olympic Village is like this melting pot and you're interacting with everybody. And this Olympics, we were kind of told to like, don't interact with anybody, stay in your team bubble. Like you're not allowed to really go out, can't really go on walks. So it was a different experience. It's still the Olympics. It was still awesome, but I feel bad for the people of Japan that didn't get to experience this amazing Olympics that they put on that I know would have been incredible and unreal. But yeah, it was for sure a different experience, but glad that we had it, glad that we were able to go.
How did it feel to obviously get to put on that Canada jersey at the Olympics and have the Olympic rings on it along with the maple leaf flag?
So neat. And I want to think back, I think in 2012, we didn't actually have the Olympic rings on our jersey. I don't know if they like didn't do that back then, or if we qualified so late that we never got a chance to get the new jerseys and have that thrown on. I'm not sure. But in 2016, I remember we played an exhibition game in Madison Square Garden, which is also a pretty unreal place to play. And that was the first time that our team unveiled the Olympic jerseys to us. And so that was our first time playing in like the official Olympic jerseys. And they had the rings on them. And I remember getting goosebumps and just being like, whoa, that's pretty neat. What a cool memento to have like the Olympic rings and the Canada across your chest. So.
Of course, as you said in 2016, what was it like getting to play in Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, that was awesome. We played some exhibition games against the US and France in a tournament, and then we flew down to Rio from there. So it's always neat. My husband's family is from Connecticut, so a bunch of them were able to come to the games, which is always pretty cool to be able to play close to family and friends. And then, to have my family was down in Rio. Then the Olympics are like nothing else, it's the highlight of sports, especially for Canadian women. Hopefully there's a time when everybody in Canada knows that the World Cup is on and they're tuning in. I know our women will be competing later on this summer, but throughout my career, the Olympics is kind of the one time where the country is watching and we have a chance to put on a show and we have a chance to kind of show what we're about and what we've been working on, and people are all tuned in. And so the Olympics are always the next level, and that's a chance where you can hopefully inspire the future generation of Canadian ballers.
Of course, how does it feel to have Canadian basketball player behind your last name along with Olympian?
Yeah, it's a huge honor being able to represent your country. Being able to play at the highest level of sport, being an Olympian and a national team player is always something that I'll cherish for sure.
What were some of your game day routines and rituals like at the Olympics versus non-Olympic cycle?
Yeah, so at the Olympics, you don't have the same level of control over your schedule as you would as, say, a professional. As a pro, you're living on your own. It's pretty chill. You're kind of do what you need to do what you want to do on game days. Whereas at the Olympics, everything is so scripted. You have to leave for games so early because buses and transportation are always wild. Even lots of times just to get to the dining hall, it can be like a 15-20 minute walk or, you know, a 5-minute bike ride. And so all of these things have to be like factored and planned in. But I would say we generally had one meal a day together as a team, and then the rest we were off. So a lot of times that would be like breakfast or pregame we would have together. But I would normally have a coffee with a couple of teammates. There's generally always a coffee crew with our team, and I love my pregame coffees.
Of course, how is it like obviously getting to play teams like US, China, and different countries?
I think that's one of the greatest things about sport is you're able to meet people from all over the world and hear different experiences, different systems and structures. Um, that's one of my favorite things about being a professional athlete and being able to play overseas and being able to represent your country is that you're surrounded and you get a chance to meet people and interact with people from different cultures. And I think it's huge. I love it. I love my experiences that I've been able to have and the people that I've been able to meet and become friends with.
Of course, how is it like getting to stand beside the Olympic rings and knowing that all of your hard work and your dreams paid off?
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's when you look back, obviously for me, sometimes it's easy to be like, ugh, but we never medaled, you know. Canada right now, we're 4th in the world and we just keep losing in the quarterfinals at World Cups and at Olympics. And so that's been tough. But if I look at, you know, 2004 Kim and 2008 Kim that sat and watched the Olympics from my couch instead of being in Athens or Beijing, it's pretty neat to say that we did it. I went to the 3 Olympics in a row. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's good to stay present, stay in the moment, and enjoy seeing those. I remember in London 2012 when I ran out of the tunnel for my very first Olympic game. I mean, it's one of my favorite basketball memories, and I was just like, I was in awe. You're in a giant stadium and you look around and there's the Olympic rings everywhere, and it was just kind of like, well, I made it. I did it. Like this is my basketball highlight for sure.
Of course, what is that like obviously getting to travel the world and obviously when you were in London and Rio, get to visit what the culture has?
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, the greatest, one of the highlights of being a professional basketball player and playing for your national team. But also, I mean, I played professionally overseas, and so I mean, my husband and I lived in France for the last 6 years, so my French became good. I can call myself bilingual now, you know, which is neat. My daughter was born in France, and just being able to embrace different cultures, learn new things, try new foods. I absolutely love it. I love to travel. I love to eat when I travel. So it's pretty cool to be able to have these experiences in your life.
What is that feeling like obviously when fans come up to you asking for your autograph and photos all around the world?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's neat to be able to be a role model, you know, because I know the impact that the women of Canada, when I first watched them, that had on me. And so to think that perhaps you influenced a young girl or a young fan that wanted your autograph is pretty cool and a full circle moment.
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the basketball community?
For me, it was definitely Teresa Kleindienst was from my hometown of Mission, BC. She played for the national team. I wound up being her teammate for a bunch of years, but it was her and my older sister, Michelle, who went and played university basketball in the US. And those two were kind of my biggest role models in basketball. Like I said, I came from a time where there wasn't, you know, YouTube or women's basketball on TV. And so I really didn't know a lot about women's basketball players other than what was in my immediate circle. And I was really fortunate and blessed to have an older sister who was dedicated and passionate and kind of showed me the ropes. And then somebody from a pretty small hometown that wound up playing for the national team.
Of course, how has it been like obviously getting to play with your older sister?
Yeah, That was pretty rough. We only played high school basketball together for 1 year. I would say it was probably a lot easier on me than it was on her. I was a carefree grade 9. And she was, a senior in high school. There was a lot of arguments, a lot of rough car rides home, I think, for my parents, but we are the best of friends now. She is one of my biggest supporters, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am without her. But I would say that it was maybe a rough stretch there when we were on the same team.
Who are some influential people in your career that have shaped you into the basketball player that you are?
I've had some incredible coaches. Bruce Langford was the high school coach. And then on the national team, I've had Allison McNeil and Lisa Tomaitis, who were both really influential. Allison McNeil coached me and her husband, Mike, all throughout high school. And I feel like I really grew up with them. I was just kind of a youngin', and they sort of took me under their wings. They're very strong leaders and really helped shape and mold me. And then my university coach, who, was incredible and so supportive. And, when we first qualified for the London Olympics in 2012, I graduated from university 6 years ago. And remember, I called my family first. My husband was with me in Turkey, so we called our family. And then I called my coach, my university coach, and she was so excited. She couldn't wait. She actually wound up flying out to London. So yeah, I've been really fortunate to have some incredible coaches throughout my career.
What are some of your future plans in your basketball career?
I have no idea. I think I would definitely like to stay involved in the game. Maybe try to get into coaching and be able to help out the younger generation, like the coaches have helped me. Like I said, I'm so fortunate to have had such incredible coaching from a young age that I would love to be able to give back and help out the future generation in the same way.
What advice would you give future college basketball players looking to play in college?
Work hard. There's really nothing that can replace it. It's all about putting in the work. And if you love what you do, it's not going to feel like work. And so it's just you just sort of have to be in the gym. You have to put in the grind. But if you have fun doing it, then it's going to be a blast.
What advice would you give current women's basketball players looking to play in the WNBA?
I think just find a skill that you have, something that you can add to a team and drill it and work it, whether that be shooting, defense. Obviously try to be a well-rounded player, but if you have something, try to bring a separate skill set that everybody can always use shooting. So get yourself in the gym and get better every day.
What advice would you give people that are looking to represent their national team, whether it's Canada or even Team USA?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It really all comes down to opportunity, but I think there's so many chances now to be seen by your national teams. There's so many tournaments. Coaches are looking everywhere for the athletes, and so it really comes down to having fun with it, putting in the work, and then on the court, making sure that you're a great teammate. I think sometimes, especially with the national team, it's not always the 12 best players that get to represent Canada. It's the 12 people that make the best team. And so what are you doing to be a good teammate? Are you hustling all the time? Are you playing offense and defense? When you're on the bench, are you engaged with your teammates? Or are you moping or bringing the team down? You need to be bringing energy in all facets of the game, and that includes on the bench and in warm-ups. I think coaches are looking at that. Everybody should be looking at that. And so, yeah, I think that's a big thing that maybe sometimes it's so easy to get wrapped up in your individual play or how many points you scored, but what else can you bring to the team?
What advice would you give those people that are looking to go to the Olympics for the first time or even multiple times like you have?
You've got to be really lucky. The Olympics only come around every 4 years, and so you can't have unfortunate injuries or bad timing. But I think it all comes back down to, can you put the work in? We used to have a saying that it's not every 4 years, it's every day for 4 years. And so you kind of, the world sees the Olympics, the Summer Olympics every 4 years, but you're training for it every single day leading up to it for 4 years. It's kind of like you need to be locked in and focused on that big goal, which can be tough, which can be overwhelming. But as I said before, if you love it, if you love what you do, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy the process. There's going to be days where it's a grind, but overall, it's going to be a neat experience. And if you're surrounded with great people, you're going to have fun, but you got to put in the work.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
On Instagram at K Gaucher.
Thank you again, Kim Gaucher, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Canada national basketball team.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Have a great day.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Kim Gaucher, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.